Hello and welcome to the latest of my Inside Tracks. Today I'm going to be exploring the sparkling alliance between Venus in Cancer and Uranus in Taurus in a sextile which is 60 degrees and enabling, which began within 3 degrees on the 23rd of May. It concludes on the 29th, but peaks on the 26th at 7:36 and 22 seconds Universal Central Time. I'm going to explore the archetypes of Venus in Cancer, Uranus in Taurus, but also have a look at the solar event chart so we can relate to this collectively, but also briefly share you the event chart based on Placidus, because that does provide some extra insights, I feel. So thank you so much for joining me. If you are a returning viewer, it's great to have you with me once more. If you're new here, I'd be honoured if you'd subscribe. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. This is very much a community. I interact with comments where possible. And also, if you'd like to get your free written daily horoscope fired to your device each morning, please see the link beneath this video. I've been writing these for 28 years. Now, what does Venus in Cancer represent? Well, I think it's very much about nurture. Venus, of course, has an appreciation of money, but also of security, and it's very much to do with our self-worth. But it can be to do with our environment in the sign of Cancer. So when people have Venus in Cancer or in the 4th house of their natal charts, they often have the most beautiful homes, very classy, very stylized. And if you have been spending time recently redecorating, choosing some new fabric coverings, some soft furnishings, or just getting things a bit more shipshape with some decluttering, or inviting people around to spend time playing host, getting together the significant people in your life, possibly family or extended family, or there has been more emphasis on your relationship with your mother if you still have one who's alive, or perhaps the person who plays an important role in your situation in terms of that emotional encouragement. So that's Venus in Cancer. That's a bit of a taster. But what about Uranus in Taurus? Well, of course, this planet is in full in this sign. It entered for 5 months in 2018, and it's been full-time since March 2019. But Uranus is a disruptor influence in the sign of Taurus, because here, being in full as it is, it's not its best location. When it moved into the sign of Taurus in the late 1930s, that triggered the build-up to the Second World War. And because Taurus is an earth sign, a land, and Uranus can be very erratic, and also it can be to do with philosophies in some ways. There's been the situation that's occurred in Ukraine, and we also have lots of restless events all around the world. But the other thing that I feel that Uranus has been particularly potent around is people being much more outspoken about their rights when it comes to remuneration. So Uranus in Taurus makes people much more vocal about any unfairness they feel about money, which of course the sign of Taurus is very much about. It's also about our values, so that could be to do with that social unrest as well. But we've also seen a big increase in raw energy prices and food. Again, they're governed by the sign of Taurus. But one of the great things about Uranus is it's very much about trying to find the higher truth. And even in the sign of Taurus, it's asking us to recalibrate our relationship to resources, to develop a thriftier approach, be much more conscious of using the Earth's resources. But it does push us to change. And in this aspect, even though it's an enabling aspect, Venus can be about itself, money, because it's the ruler of Taurus, about that self-worth, and of course it can be about our relationships, but it also can be to do with fashion and arts and how we present ourselves. So this angle between Venus and Taurus is suggesting some changes could be useful in our approach, some innovation, which Uranus is very much about, in our attitude to relationships or resources. Now, what about the event chart? So I'm just grabbing the solar chart first of all. So I'm showing that on the screen, and we can see that we do have Uranus in house 2, of course, and we have Venus in house 4. But interesting, you can see that just tucked up behind Venus is the Sun-Moon midpoint, and that's actually forging a really positive sextile to Mercury, also in the sign of Taurus. The Sun-Moon midpoint is the overall energy of this chart. So again, it's in Cancer and it's in the 4th house. So we're all being asked to think very much about property and home and family matters with that combination. And Mercury and Uranus, along with Taurus and the North Node, are all encouraging us to rethink our attitude to resources. Now I just want to share with you the event chart. Based on Greenwich, this gives us an ascendant in Cancer. So again, this very Cancerian theme, but it does mean that Venus is in house 12 along with that midpoint. And house 12 can be where we want to shield, where we want to protect ourselves and perhaps secrete ourselves away, have some peace and tranquility. But it may be that Uranus is pushing us to look at an issue that we're reluctant to engage with because we are being protective, because the sign of Cancer can be defensive. It is about security, home and emotional security. So sometimes the crab likes to dig deep in the sand, hide under that hard, crusty shell, and be quite tenacious in withdrawing. So in terms of the more serious astrology, Venus is withdrawn on this event, along with the midpoint between the Sun and the Moon, whereas Uranus and indeed the Sun and Mercury are asking us to be much more progressive and much more focused on what future trends are, the 11th house. Jupiter and the Node, which are coming together exactly on the 1st and 2nd of June, depending on where we're located, are in the sector of worldly interaction. So that gives us a clue that we're all being asked to adapt, and that's very much a Uranian principle. We need to flex, and in the sign of Taurus that can be difficult because fixed signs like to resist. So essentially this whole event is very much about property matters, home issues, emotional security, important connections, but they're ripe for some kind of fresh analysis and sense of truth, because what Uranus can provide is greater illumination. But that means breaking free of some set patterns that may, say, family politics. You can get one or two people become very dominant in a unit of a family, but I feel that there could be some very frank discussions that go on around this event which help to see things in different ways, but also can ventilate some frustration. So the sextile doesn't necessarily mean something that's going to be super sweet. It's asking us to change. I read the other day that a great expression for a husband who gets stuck in and does stuff around the house is a dusband, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. So I said to my wife, I'm a dustman because I will pick up the hoover, I'll do the washing up, I'll take the bins out, I'll feed the birds, I'll change the bed, you know. So I'm a dustman, and that's a modern, fresh approach to sharing the domestic load, which of course can be Cancer. So if you've got people in your abode who are not taking their share of responsibility, Uranus pushes you to address that issue, but in a constructive way. So Venus can be very diplomatic through its rulership of Libra. Uranus can be franker through its rulership of Aquarius. but I feel that it's asking us all to be very, very realistic about resources, about what we contribute financially to any collective situation, the 11th house, and how we can change our attitudes just in little ways to refresh our alliances. So if a romantic relationship has got stale and predictable, it's time to do something a little bit daring to reinvigorate it. If you're looking for a relationship, it's time to be a bit more daring about how you find one, if that's what you want. If it's around the domestic or family scene and that something has become very stuck, samey and repetitive, it's a great opportunity to have a complete fresh look. Thank you so much for joining me. If you would like to understand the profound insights that more serious astrology can provide to guide your life path, if you give me 3 pieces of personal birth data of time, date and place of birth, I can produce for you your life roadmap report. This will give you a much more intimate understanding of your qualities, but also some of the more frustrating patterns that may have come up in your situation, so you can work with them more effectively. Also, my special package of 30% off, you can get your 12-month personal forecast, totally unique to you, which will give you Syrian insights for the months ahead. If you don't know your time, I can produce for you my special package based on your sun, and this too will give incredibly valuable insights to guide you. Again, 30% off. Please see the link below for more. It's been a real pleasure being with you. Thank you so much for joining me. Please like, comment or subscribe.